continuing on in our lessons on weak verbs and weak letters in verbs. This video is about ein vav and ein yod verbs, or verbs that have either a vav or a yod as the middle second root letter. They're also called hollow verbs. That's what they're most commonly known as, and I'll refer to them as hollow verbs most of the time in the future. They're called hollow because they really technically only have two root consonants. The third root consonant is a consonantal vowel, and so it sort of appears and functions sometimes as a consonant, but it's actually a vowel. And it can be one of three. It can either be a holem vav, or it can be a shurek vav, or it can be a hirek yod. Holem vav, shurek vav, or hirek yod are the three options for the middle root letter or vowel. And so they're called hollow because of that, but also because in a variety of forms, most notably and most commonly the perfect form, the middle root letter disappears entirely. It just is gone. And you only have the first and last root letter remaining. And so it's hollow because only the first and third root letters are visible. Here I've written down the four most common hollow verbs. These verbs appear throughout the Hebrew Bible, and you were introduced to all of them at the intensive. Hollow verbs are, because of these four words really, ubiquitous in the Hebrew Bible. People are always rising or returning or coming or going or placing things or setting things. So we have bo. I didn't put my Dagesh forte or Dagesh lene in there. Bo. Shuv. Bo is come or enter. Shuv is return or turn around. Kum is arise or get up. And seem with a seen, is set or place. Seem is the verb used in the final verse of Aaron's blessing, which you have this week, to set upon you or place around you or over you or for you peace. V'yasem lecha shalom. That's this verb, seem, in its jussive, contracted form. So you don't have yasim, you don't hear the whole thing, it's just yasem, shortened form with a segul and no yod. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So, for each of these verbs, in the kal and in the perfect, as I said, the middle root letter disappears entirely. And what you have in its place is a kametz. When these verbs appear, these roots appear in the pa'al stem, your most common vowel is going to be a kametz in both the imperfect and the perfect. So let me just illustrate. So this is a third feminine singular, perfect, from bo, ba'a. You notice the vav is entirely gone, but it still has the kametz hey ending, and there's your kametz. For shuv, we could try shavta. Right, shavta. That's a second masculine singular. The vav disappears, and you've got your kametz plus your affix. For kum, let's try kamu. Okay, that's a third common plural affix. You've got your comets here and your affix, the shurik vav, telling you common and plural third person. And for seem, let's try samt. Okay, this is our second feminine singular affix. You still got your comets there under the first root letter. Okay, so, and that's consistent in all the different forms throughout the whole perfect paradigm. You can look the paradigm up in the textbook and look over that. One of the peculiarities of the hollow verb is that when you have a hollow verb in one of the intensive forms, which you'll recall the flannel graph from the intensive, is the intensive forms are the forms in the middle, the middle column. So you've got the PL, you've got the hitpa'el, and you've got the pu'al. Okay? PL is active, pu'al is passive, and hitpa'el is reflexive. The unique characteristic, or the consistent characteristic in each of those three intensive forms is that the middle root letter is doubled with a dagesh forte. However, with hollow verbs, you can't double a vowel. Okay, so the middle root letter in each of these, in every hollow verb, cannot receive a dagesh forte. So Hebrew actually generates a different modified verb stem for each of for the hollow verbs only. And so the PL, this is in the textbook. Where is this? This is in the textbook on page 169, number 2. The PL becomes the polel. Okay, so PL becomes polel. The pu'al becomes the polal. And the hitpa'el becomes the hitpolel. Okay, same as this, just hitpolel. And what that means is that instead of doubling the middle root consonant, they double the final root consonant. But they don't double it with a dagesh forte, they actually repeat it. So if you go to page 169, the example they gave you is kun, to establish or set up. So kun in the PL, which is actually the polel, you take kun, here's the root, kaf, shurik vav, nun, and instead of, you take this shurik vav out and double the final, so that becomes a holam vav, but it's not a part of the root, it's just a part of the vocal pattern. And then you've got the doubled or repeated nun at the end, konain. Konain for poleo or polel. Okay? So the lamed, which is the third root letter of the paradigmatic verb used to create the name of each verb stem, that lamed tells you that the pattern in the hollow verb stem for the intensive is that lamed is repeated. Okay, so konain, or the other examples here, kon and nu, that's in the pu'al, and yit konain is in the hitpa'el. It's just giving you a selection of the three instead of the whole paradigm. Okay, now if we have a hollow verb in the imperfect, in either, actually, the imperfect or its sister form, the vav consecutive, if we have either of those, I wanted to give you one more example of the polel. This is taken out of Psalm 23. In the first verse, I think, no, the second verse, what is it? The third verse, the beginning of verse 3. Here we have two very familiar verbs, very familiar words in slightly modified forms. So nafshi might sound familiar to you. Uvchol nafshecha, right? Nefesh with a suffix is nafshe, whatever the suffix is. So here's nafshi, which is my nefesh. Nafshi yeshovev. Okay, so this is the polel of shuv. Shuv means to turn around, and in the intensive form, it actually takes some of the hiphil meaning of bringing back or returning something, causing something to return. But it also has this idea of refreshing, not just returning something to a location, but returning life to something, reviving or refreshing or resuscitating, bringing back to life, in other words. So in Psalm 23, the poet celebrates the shepherd's capacity to return the nefesh to the worshiper. The Lord revives, resuscitates, refreshes, returns my soul, my life, my being, my personality, my whole self. The Lord returns, revives or refreshes, reorients, refocuses. All of these things are being celebrated here by this word and its use. And it's a PL, right? Or a polel, the hollow PL. Okay.